going to be a little talk on yoga and the digestive system. You'll notice I set my mat out, so towards the end of our talk, we're going to do just a very short sequence for yoga for the digestion and kind of tapping into the innate wisdom of our belly. So if you need to pause the video, go get in something super comfortable and set yourself up with a mat. I have a yoga block there as well. So if you have a yoga block, a pillow, or even just a rolled up blanket will be perfect. But that's going to be towards the end of our time together. So let's start like we usually do, just finding a comfortable seat wherever you are and whatever that looks like to you. So again, this is going to be mostly about yoga and the digestive system, but as we get into this talk, you'll notice the digestive system is also very linked to the nervous system, which we're going to be diving a lot deeper into later on. So let's start with just a short breathing practice, excellent for digestion and also calming the nervous system. So maybe you place one hand onto your belly and you close your eyes. Just take a moment to notice the way you're showing up today in your physical body, your mind. What are you feeling? Sometimes we're so busy, we don't even recognize what we're feeling. Do you feel amped up, anxious? Do you feel depleted? That's kind of your energetic awareness. Can you notice any subtle feelings, whatever they may be? Maybe it's fear, sadness. Maybe you come to your time together with swinging towards the other end of the spectrum, excitement, hope. See if you can name your emotion. And then now that you've gotten kind of your baseline, see if you can begin to deepen your breath. As you inhale, really allow the belly to fill, to distend a bit. As you exhale, feel the belly draw back in. So again, full inhales, filling all the space in the belly, the pelvis. Full exhale, maybe lightly drawing up on that pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, or lightly drawing up on the navel center, Uddiyana Bandha, on your exhalation to just feel complete and tap into the energies there. Completely soften your face, your jaw. And stay with the fullness of your inhales, the fullness of your exhales, exploring this emptying quality of the belly. whenever you're ready. First, you might take your hand off your belly and just set it to your thigh. Continue to notice the movement and breath of the belly. Take a moment to just check in with your physical body, your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy. And whenever you're ready, you can flick your eyes open. And again, just notice how you feel. Sometimes we think our yoga practice has to be this 60-90 minute practice of elaborate movement, and it can very well be that. But we can also take these 2-minute shifts to deepen our breath. Our breath is the most powerful tool to really calm the nervous system and to also promote healthy digestion. And we'll continue to explore that as we move through our talk today. I thought I would start with a little quote from Donna Farry, Yoga, Mind, Body, and Spirit, A Return to Wholeness. Let's see if I can find the right page. So she's talking about the organ systems. So not necessarily just the digestive system, but all the organs in the body and how yoga can really influence the organ systems. So when you bring your attention into the center or the core of the body and begin to activate the central support of the organs, this stimulates the parasympathetic part of your nervous system. The part of the nervous system that slows things down and supports the process of digestion, assimilation, and elimination. My own research with yoga students throughout the world has shown that when people become conscious of their inner bodies, their breathing immediately relaxes and deepens, and the movement automatically becomes slow and measured. This phenomena, I believe, is a sign that the parasympathetic aspect of the nervous system is balancing the action of the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system responsible for fright, fight, flight, or fake it response. I never heard that before, the fake it response. Interesting. In our yoga practice, we dramatically increase the benefits of the asana by focusing our awareness on these crucial centers of health. While musculoskeletal initiation, support, and alignment are important, the muscles and bones must work in concert with the inner organ system. When we continually overuse and rely on the musculoskeletal system without the underlying cooperation of the organs, we can exhaust ourselves, and we can also injure ourselves through leveraging too strong from the outside against an unmoving center. In order to sense this more subtle system, it is helpful to begin to turn down the volume of the musculoskeletal action. As we let the quieter voice of the inner body be heard, we may find dormant aspects of our consciousness emerging, while the musculoskeletal system has the opportunity for much needed rest and recuperation. So more on that later, but I thought that would be a good doorway into our discussion. So I don't think I brought my book from Gary Krastow, Yoga for Wellness, but he speaks of our yoga practice to address hyper and hypo conditions of the body. So I thought we might start our talking kind of the nuts and bolts of the body and the digestive system, and then kind of break it off into moving a little bit more into the emotional side, so to speak, of our digestive system. So when we speak of hyper and hypo conditions of the digestive system, he's alluding to the fact that different conditions might require a different type of approach to our practice. So briefly, hypo conditions of the digestive system would include things like constipation, just sluggish digestion, things of that nature. So if we want to help kind of speed things along, sometimes it can help to actually add movement, and add heat. So the digestive system is often tied to our agni or digestive fire. A little bit more on that later, but so for hypo conditions of the digestive system, we might want to stimulate the agni and add movement, such as just in general movement of, vinyasa type style practices where we're moving, walking, jogging, just general movement can really do a lot to stimulate the digestive system. More targeted practices to tap into that agni, digestive fire, would be things such as core work, just that strong breath can be the foundation work for core work. So trying to draw in the transverse abdominals on our exhalations, drawing in the belly, pulling up the pelvic floor. So simply full breathing, really in any asana, and that might be your asana for full belly breathing, might be on your drive to work. So working on your digestive system, calming your nervous system on your way to work. Sitting up tall in your car, feeling the belly expand, those transverse abdominals squeezing in. Again, that idea of emptiness. This can be the very base of core work in, like I said, in any time of your day, really. You can take a short little break to breathe deeply, activate those core muscles. You can do it in your mountain pose, you can do it lying on your belly, you can do it like in crocodile pose, you can do it lying on your back, adding a nice pelvic tilt, and honestly, pretty much any asana where we can just focus on those full inhales and full exhales. Super powerful for the digestive system. It's like we're giving a little massage into this area. Other ways to really stimulate that are movements such as twists, where we're actively twisting, compressing and squeezing, or our lateral side bends, sometimes again making space in the body can help to get things moving along, moving the spine in all its different directions will help to facilitate that. But on the other end of that, the idea with digestion is that it really is much more, it is strictly really a parasympathetic function of the body. So when we think of the way we can operate our lives, busy, multitask, go, we really can get stuck in that sympathetic nervous system or that overdrive system of, being in sympathetic overdrive. So we're always, the mind is always going. If the thoughts are always going, and we don't allow for quiet and reflection and practices to get us into the parasympathetic nervous system, well, we just don't have time to digest, literally and figuratively. We don't have time to digest our food. We don't have time to digest our thoughts, our experiences. So, we can say, to stimulate digestion, movements is very important, and it is. Balance. We also need the quiet, more restorative type practices, where we, can get into a forward fold and just be with it, where we can, come into a nice restorative twist and breathe really deeply. A long shavasana, a meditation, a relaxation, a slow walk. All of these things will help to tip us more into the parasympathetic nervous system, where we can truly rest, digest, and heal. That's the three things spoken of the parasympathetic nervous system: rest, digest, and heal. So if we don't allow ourselves those times of relative quiet and stillness or gentler practice, we won't allow ourselves to digest, again, physically, emotionally, and we may not be encouraging a healing process in our gut. That kind of brings me to some of the hyper conditions of the digestive system. Things like Crohn's disease, colitis, IBS with kind of a diarrheal component. So in those types of things, we really want to avoid, when you think about it, there's already some inflammation maybe going on in the belly. There's already maybe a little too strong of an agni or digestive fire. So we want to calm and cool that by bringing more of the relaxing, restorative practices. Even strong, abdominal work or strong twisting may not be the best approach for someone, especially if they're in a flaring part of, say, Crohn's disease or colitis or something like that. So just to be aware of these ways of, dealing with whatever we have going on. Again, thinking of it, is it hyper? Is there, inflammation, too much arousal? Do we need to cool it down? Or is it hypo? Do we need to speed things up? And we'll talk about this a little bit more later when we really focus on the nervous system. Things like depression, anxiety. We can apply it to when we get to the heart. Things like hypertension, hypotension. But for today, we'll mostly be talking about the digestive system. So let's come back and talk a little bit more about this digestive fire or agni. I had a little excerpt that I wanted to share with you from Yoga for Transformation by Gary Crosto. But first, let's tag this into some of the vayus that we've talked about before. As you remember, the vayus are winds or ways that we can move energy through our body. I'll quickly touch on them in case anyone's watching this and haven't heard of the vayus. So vayu, we have prana vayu, what we take in, including food and water, really. We have apana vayu, of what we release and let go of, which has direct relationship to elimination, giving birth, letting go. Then we have samana vayu, which is right in the middle. And samana vayu has to do with this digestive agni and processing. So we can take things in, but before we can release them, let them go, we need to kind of assimilate, process, let the nutrients go where they need to go. If we're talking specifically about food, or talking about experiences, we need to, process, assimilate, make sense of it, and then we can let it go. Sometimes I've been noticing for myself, maybe I can be too quick to let things go. So there's also this time of just sitting with something. How does it feel in your gut? And allowing yourself the time to truly feel and process. So the other two vayus. We have Vayana Vayu, which is kind of an all-encompassing, moving outwards, and then Uddiyana Vayu at the throat and upwards, leading to kind of higher thinking, meditation, consciousness. So when it comes to digestion, I was thinking that we'd be talking mostly about Apana Vayu, letting go, elimination, and Samanu Vayu, assimilation, processing. But we also want to consider the Prana Vayu of what we take in. Very important to the digestive system. And we might loop back to that, but obviously, we want to be taking in healthy, nutrient-dense foods to fuel our body appropriately, in lots of water to facilitate the process of digestion and letting go and assimilating. So two very basic levels of self-care. So I like that yoga is not just about, the movements. How do we do Warrior 1? How do we do Warrior 2? To me, yoga is how do we optimally care for our bodies? And a lot of that is the movement and the meditation and the breath, but it's also what do we put in? How do we let go? So our diet can be very important to our digestive system. And I'm not going to really break this down too much. I think we kind of all know the things that are healthy for digestion, increasing our fiber, more fruits, more vegetables, again, the water component, and listening to, again, our inner self, our inner gut. Are we truly hungry? Another fuel for thought, right? I used to work at cardiac rehab at the hospital, and one of our videos we talked about was all about diet and basically about losing weight. But I loved how they talked about, are you mouth hungry or are you belly hungry? Because a lot of times we're just mouth hungry. We want to chomp on something to distract ourselves, or we eat at a certain time because we think that we should. Or are we listening to those true feelings of hunger and satiety? And I think it takes a level of inner knowing and quieting to get to that place of truly knowing. Are we truly hungry? Are we truly full? And just talking about how we take in pranavayu, when we sit down to eat, we want to think about what else are we taking in? Are we sitting down and mindlessly eating in front of the TV, taking in all kinds of other experiences? Are we sitting at the lunch table with our coworkers, taking in all the daily BS along with our food? It's great to try to eat mindfully, which means we actually taste our food and have a sense of quiet and slowness when we actually take in our nourishment. And notice as I take in our nourishment, we're feeding ourselves nourishment. So again, more fuel for thought when it comes to pranavayu and how we are taking in. And then talking about processing and letting go, more about that samana vayu and digestive fire. So I had a little short reading that I wanted to share with you with regards to that. And Gary Carstow is referring back to the chakras as insight into digestive health. We're going to dive more into the chakras, but I think most of us have at least a base awareness of the chakras at this point. So for me, when I think of digestion, I'm thinking of the first 3 chakras. So we'll just briefly touch base on those. So the first is Muladhara, or the root chakra, and it's located in the perennial floor. The meaning of this term Muladhara is root support. This center reflects basic survival issues, and accordingly it corresponds to the earth element and to the sense of smell. I wasn't aware of that, the sense of smell, but that's interesting, relating to food. I'll just read this to you because it's actually new insight for me. In evolutionary biology, smell has been the primary means by which animals of most species were able to identify food and danger, as well as reproductive potential. In our own experience, we often use the expression, "I don't like the smell of this," to describe a situation in which we feel uncomfortable. We use our nose, as it were, to help us know the character of a situation. I'd also say we use our bellies too. As a foundation, this chakra represents stability in the system, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Its corresponding emotional characteristic is a sense of safety and trust. When there's a defect in this chakra, the characteristics of fear, instability, and mistrust appear. Fear. For me, fear is a lot about the belly, maybe the kidneys, the adrenals. We can say that if we are insecure, we have a lack of a solid foundation. If this foundation of any structure is weak, tilted, or sinking, there is a risk it will collapse. All starts at the base, starts with our root. Then he moves on to Svadhisthana, or the sacral chakra. It's related to the sacrum, the pubic bone, the genital area, and the bladder and kidneys, which are involved with water metabolism. Accordingly, this chakra corresponds to the water element and to the sense of taste. The meaning of the term Svadhisthana is self-sustaining. The water element represents creation. Taste, like smell, is a primary sense by which we judge whether or not we are attracted to someone. Thus, taste represents the flavor of a relationship. As creation, this center corresponds to our vitality, our capacity for play, and when there's a defect in this chakra, it manifests as a feeling of inhibition, being stifled or repressed. So this area of being stifled, repressed, kind of in our belly, in moving forward even just on the basic level of digestion. I'm really liking his bringing in of smell and taste into this discussion. So the chakra that for me really symbolizes digestion is the Manipura, or the solar plexus, that digestive fire part of the body. So he speaks on that. The Manipura chakra is located in the region of the navel. It is related to the lumbar spine, the large and the small intestines, liver, pancreas, and adrenal glands. The chakra corresponds to the fire element and to the sense of sight. So we need to smell, taste, and see our food. Interesting. The meaning of the term Manipura is full of gems. Sight, which reveals form, is linked to light and color. This chakra corresponds to our self-esteem and our self-image. Thus, we often say that someone with high self-esteem looks bright, whereas someone with low self-esteem looks dull. This center is the seat of Agni, the digestive fire. It is related to digestion at every level, With good, strong fire, we are able to digest not only physical food, but also sensations and experiences. We can say that when a person has a strong fire, they can handle more. As digestion is a process of transformation, this center is also responsible for change, and it reflects our ability to grow. When the digestive fire is strong, we can handle challenges and we can adapt. When there is a defect in this chakra, however, characteristics such as lower self-esteem, depression, or a difficulty to accept change, and an inability to adapt may appear. We can think of the expression, "I can't swallow that," which we may use in a situation which is too bitter, which we cannot absorb. In addition, when the fire is weak, impurities accumulate in our system. So this work related to the chakras, and particularly this Manipura chakra center, where we process and have a greater ability to balance and return to balance. What's the word that he used? Let me reflect back. Here it is. Ability to adapt and ability to handle challenges. That's the wording that I liked. The ability to handle challenges. For me, relates a lot to this link between the brain, the heart's included, and the belly, and it relates to the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs, I believe it's at I think it's the pair of cranial nerves that runs down through the base of the skull, and it intervenes at many things, including the heart and the belly. It's related more to the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you've ever heard the word, so-and-so has good vagal tone, I always wondered, what does that mean, vagal tone? I knew what it means on the end spectrum of what it means, but what does it mean? It means that if we have good vagal tone, we are able to self-regulate a little bit better between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system always gets a bad rap. That fight or flight, we need to, move out of that, but it has its purpose. It gives us action. It beats the heart. It gives us blood pressure. So the sympathetic nervous system isn't bad. It's just the fact that we need to balance these two. And frequently in our society, we are in that, again, hyper-aroused state, that rushing, that trying to produce, that we can get stuck in that sympathetic nervous system far too much. And then we don't have the ability to self-regulate as much. And that's where some of these, disorders come in of, in our digestive system, in our heart, in the nervous system, and stress-related conditions. So vagal tone is a really, really important. And one of the best places to build your vagal tone, is on your yoga mat. And we'll do a little sequence later to facilitate that. But again, when we're providing vagal tone, we are increasing our resilience, so to speak. We're able to counterbalance. Yes, a stressful event takes place, but can our nervous system regulate itself to get itself back into a normal sense of homeostasis, they call it. So vagus nerve, really important. So I'll talk just briefly on a couple of ways to provide this vagal tone, and we're going to talk more about it when we specifically talk about the nervous system, but especially with regards to our belly digestive health, as we started our practice this morning with deep belly diaphragmatic breathing. It creates that tone, that calming of our nervous system. And our bodies, our brains are just so complex, but the idea is that when we can come to a safe place, first chakra, and a place where we can relax, and a place where we can allow ourselves to feel, such as our yoga mat, we remember what that feels like. And we can come back to that even when we're not on our yoga mat. We can come back to that even when we're in a stressful event, or just provide more resilience, like I said, in our nervous system, so that we're able to rebound a little bit better. So things that can promote vagal tone, belly breathing, anytime we're lengthening the exhalation, so longer exhale such as chanting, humming, singing, all really good for the vagus nerve. The vagus nerves run through the neck area, so we're working on all of those things when we chant, when we hum, when we sing. Cold showers, believe it or not, are very regulatory for the vagus nerve, as well as gargling. Again, that idea of stimulating in, around, through the neck area. And basically any restorative type yoga practices. Sunlight is supposed to be really good for our vagus nerve. I would say touching the earth is good for our vagus nerve, that sense of regulating yourself, plugging into Mother Nature and regulating yourself. Inflammation is one of the biggest causes, or I don't know if it's a symptom or a cause, they all work together, of dysregulation in the body. So inflammation, such as autoimmune conditions, high blood pressure, leaky gut issues, all can be related to inflammation, and stimulating that vagus nerve can help with all inflammatory conditions. And we'll speak on that a little more when we get to the heart. So I thought I'd get a little sciencey with you, and then we'll take it to the mat for a little exploration. So let's see. I think I'll just go with this book here. This is The Psychobiotic Revolution. And I'm going to read to you just a little passage in here talking about the gut-brain axis. And this whole book and the Psychobiotic Revolution is kind of alluding to the fact that our gut flora, or the health of our gut, is also tied into a healthy vagus nerve and tied into a healthy nervous system, including, some treatments for anxiety and depression might not start up here, they might start here in our belly. So if you want to learn more about that, I suggest this book, but I just thought I'd give you just a brief discussion on this topic. So he's talking about the gut-brain axis, and how, again, the gut, the brain, the heart, all different energy centers, and helping find balance. So I'm just going to read to you a little bit. So he says, these are the main communication channels between your brain and your gut. Your nervous system, your immune system, and your endocrine system. We can't just talk about one system, they're all interrelated, but we'll piece apart some of those other systems later, but I just find this really interesting. The circulatory and lymphatic system also play supporting roles, but these first three are dominant. Each system is used differently by the microbes that affect your mood. Each has its own unique chemical language, but they also need to coordinate with one another. So they have some signaling molecules in common as well. These symptoms interact with each other, making it a difficult discussion to isolate any of them or isolate any of the systems. To keep the conversation lively between your second and your first brain, your brain and your belly, the three main systems of communication have the following primary tasks and chemicals they use to accomplish them. The nervous system relays information to and throughout your brain. It communicates using chemicals called neurotransmitters. The immune system is at the ready to rally a defensive response against threats to healthy homeostasis. It uses the protein molecules called cytokines to signal distress. And this leads to inflammation, by the way, cytokines. The endocrine system monitors and manages growth and metabolism. Its component glands communicate by secreting hormones into your blood and sending signals throughout the body. It operates more slowly and longer acting. So, again, these linking of the systems together to promote balance. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the enteric nervous system, which we've been kind of alluding to, we just haven't named yet. The enteric nervous system is the nervous system of the whole range of nerves that innervate the belly. And the vagus nerve is one of them. So I'll just read you a little bit and then we'll break it down a little bit on our own. The enteric nervous system is the one that operates in your gut, your second brain. It is intimately connected with the rest of the nervous system but operates with its own set of rules. This system, including your microbiota, holds the key to dismantling any chronic stress response you may be experiencing and to returning your body to healthy homeostasis. Becoming more aware of your enteric nervous system may not be easy. Sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric, all three of these systems operate on autopilot. So typically you don't even think about them. Your gut is remarkably independent, and it doesn't really need your brain to tell it what to do. Gut motions are under local control, so much so that you can cut off all your gut nerves to the brain and it will still pulse with purpose. Interesting. Your gut is wired to your brain through your spine and through your vagus nerve, but the vagus is the primary two-way communication channel for mood. So it's the one we pay the most attention to when discussing psychobiotics. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about this vagus nerve and the enteric nervous system. It's really interesting. When we think of nerves, they run either from the brain down or they run from the body up to the brain. So the enteric nervous system, probably 80% of it is gathering information from the gut and sending it up to the brain. So that idea of intelligence found in the gut is seen right in this enteric nervous system. And that's also true for the vagus nerve. It's sending information back up to the brain. So it just, again, affirms this intelligence that we sometimes have difficulty speaking to, of when we get a gut instinct. Again, following your gut, listening to the wisdom. Have you ever had a gut instinct, and then your brain kind of overrode it and you just didn't listen to it. How'd that turn out? So it's important to take the time to listen to your gut. Again, to get quiet, to allow that kind of calming effect of our parasympathetic nervous system to come in. So again, we can digest our food, but we can also digest our thoughts, our experiences, and in our own time, let them go. So that was basically a lot of information. Hopefully it made sense to you. And I've been just diving deeper into this wisdom of our bodies. And again, not just the musculoskeletal system, but those deeper layers of our being. So, yeah, listening to our gut's important. So let's take the time now to hop on our mats, kind of let all these thoughts and ideas kind of go and just come into an experience. So I hope I've got things situated correctly here. So now we're going to move into just a gentle, short practice to kind of calm and soothe the nervous system and just tap into this second brain of ours, so to speak. So let's begin lying down on the back. You might need a yoga block, a blanket, or a pillow for part of this practice. So if you need to grab that, you can do that. So we'll start in alternate rest pose. Knees drawing together, the feet a little wider. You might place your hands onto your belly or just let them rest by your sides. And as we did in the beginning of our practice, start to naturally and gradually deepen the breath. One wisdom teacher that I've followed before was Stephen Levine, and he speaks of soft belly. The idea that we can approach the world with a firmness in our belly, whether it be for aesthetic reasons or for just protection. Our inability to be vulnerable and truly feel. So allow this softness to come into your belly. And then, whenever you're ready, we'll add some gentle, kind of intuitive movements. So let's start by drawing the right knee in towards the chest. Rest the left arm down by your side and start making little circles, or you could make kind of a pumping action, drawing in and out. Again, whatever your body seems to be guiding you into. Goes along a little bit with the Svadhisthana, or the second chakra of being like water. Fluid movement, allowing us to go with the flow of life. And part of this second chakra is also the quality of creativity. So allow yourself to be a little creative with these movements. Maybe they get bigger, maybe you start circling that leg around. Maybe you start. Bring a little twist into it if you feel guided to do that. Allow yourself to be moved. Physically, emotionally. And then maybe you reach that leg up towards the sky, this softness in the knee, and we make more circles. Or maybe we tap into that creativity and make little figure eights. Or any movements that your body seems to be guiding you into. And realize that your leg bone or muscle isn't doing this movement. All the movement is coming from that wisdom within your own belly. And when that feels complete, maybe you cross the ankle onto the opposite side. Maybe you take the hands back to the belly. And just take a few very deep breaths. Recalling the act of a very full inhale and a very full exhale, just on its own, will help with digestion, will help us process, and will help stimulate that vagus nerve. And then hug that knee in. Maybe extend the left leg down towards the earth. Relax your shoulders. Maybe let's turn up the corners of the lips a little bit here. The expression of our face is also tied to the vagus nerve. See if even if you're not feeling it, you can bring in a quality of peacefulness, relaxation, to your face. And then when you're ready, we'll just change sides. Actually, before we do that, go ahead and straighten both legs for a moment, like you're coming into Shavasana. Observe any subtle differences between the two sides of the body. This ability to feel our bodies on the inside, very powerful tool. Increasing our self-awareness and ability to self-regulate. So then when you're ready, bend the legs. We'll do that little mini sequence on the other side. So hug your left leg in. Extend the right arm down. And make little circles here. Again, listening to the wisdom of your body. How does your body want to move? And awakening this second brain of yours. Recalling all the nerve endings that run from the belly back up to the brain. What do we want to have the belly tell the brain? Sometimes we can bring in a suggestion as a mantra. Or just have the feeling tone of the practice be the language. And then making maybe bigger movements. You could start circling that leg around. You could guide into a little twisting. How does your body want to move? What creative force is driving you here? And then crossing the ankle onto the opposite thigh. Just making a little more space for the belly. Your hands could come back to the belly. Wherever we place our hand on the body, our awareness tends to go to. Soft belly awareness. By increasing our awareness, we gain that ability to self-regulate. And then maybe reaching that leg up towards the sky. We could make little circles. We could make big circles. Circle the ankle. Just feel all of these movements as being guided by your belly. Moving into the hips, that lowest part of the spine, affirming that we truly are safe and that all our basic needs are met. So when that feels complete, hug it in. Extend the right leg straight. Relax your shoulders, your jaw, your face. When that feels complete, maybe extend those legs straight again for a moment just to notice any difference in the two sides. Notice both sides of your body, both sides of your belly. Then take the legs to a bend. Maybe your arms come up a little higher. Your feet are as wide as the mat. And just this nice windshield wiper action. Coming back to that fluid quality of the second chakra. Let the legs wave over to the right or the left for a few full breaths. Relaxing the front of the thigh, that psoas muscle that runs down into the pelvis and wraps around all the thoracic spine. So many nerve endings, as well as the vagus nerve, probably being innervated by innervating this particular muscle. Invite the quality of relaxation. Releasing any guarding, any holding that you might tend to create in this part of your body. And wave the legs over to the other side. Flex your feet to protect your knees. Big inhales, big exhales. Down through the other psoas. Big muscle in the thigh. Wrapping up into the torso. Coming back to center. So before we move into a little relaxation and self-massage, I thought we'd do just a little bit of work for that third chakra, the solar plexus and fire center. So 2 tolerance, we'll do just a tiny bit of core work. So then I'll show you different levels to take yourself to. So starting right here, inhale, arms up. Exhale, draw the right knee in, full exhale. And change it up, inhale up. Exhale, opposite knee in, full exhale, provides that squeezing action for the belly, as well as a little press into the opposite foot. So visualize that Agni fire of yours. And you're just stoking it a little bit, nice and gentle. So either stay with this, or you could lift your head, neck, and shoulders, add a little bit more. Again, always 2 tolerance. Just building a little bit of heat in our core. These stronger types of movements can be really good for giving our digestive system a little nudge if it's moving towards that hypo condition and we need to speed that digestion up a little bit. Obviously, if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you could just be relaxing here. Take a rest. Or up your game, you could do a little bicycle action. Again, to tolerance. Try to relax the neck. Visualize that fire center growing a little stronger. And then maybe you hug yourself into a little ball. Breathe. And then slowly relax. Shoulders. Relax the feet. Rest your hands and just feel that little bit of heat that you created. This is related to whenever I think of fire element and Agni, I always think of tapas, one of the niyamas, the burning enthusiasm for our practice. The ability to transform or transmute what needs to be transformed. So now we'll move into our more restorative practice. Let that cool a little bit. You want a block, a blanket, or a bolster to set right underneath the lowest part of your spine, your sacrum. Make sure you're comfortable. Supported bridge, feet are underneath the knees, arms are by the sides. And breathe. And letting that breath be full, complete. Inviting the belly to be soft, vulnerable, so you can actually pick up on those messages from your second brain, your gut. And then bringing in a practice specific for digestion. You're going to do a little massage of the belly. And if you're doing this at home, at another time you might bring in a little sesame oil, warm oil, or something else and just be on bare skin. So we're going to take our hands and place them to the left side of our lower belly, right around just to the right of your left hip bone. And just start gently massaging in this area. Breathing deeply. Again, this just aids healthy digestion. Actually stimulates that vagus nerve. Maybe you start walking away towards the center. Keep circling. Maybe circle on over towards the right hip bone. Breathing deeply. And placing hands on our bodies. Any massage invokes this quality of trust and safety. Circle around the other side. So we're kind of making a big circle across the lower part, moving towards the right, up the side of the belly, over across the bottom of the ribs at the top, or the top of the belly, and then down the left side. So you could pause in any spots that need more attention or more depth. Or you could just lightly stroke, making these circles all the way around. This is your body, your practice. Just an example of even a short 2-minute practice of self-care that you could do for yourself. Just this. So whenever that feels complete, feel free to pause and linger there. Linger there. Another really good pose, particularly for kind of both ends of the spectrum when it comes to digestion, is legs up the wall. So you could literally move to the wall, take your legs to chair, or be supported here on a block, whatever feels comfortable for you. That has a very profound calming effect on the nervous system. Adding our long exhalations helps move us into relaxation. Helps balance and promote that vagal tone. I love the idea of influencing our vagus nerve, influencing our own body systems. The idea that we have control to create homeostasis, to create balance. Linger here for as long as you like. Or if you're ready to move on with your day, come back to your supported bridge. Truly acknowledge how you're feeling. your prop. And again, this is your time, this is your practice. Would be a nice time to linger in your inversion or just set yourself up for Shavasana and really give yourself that time. And if you're ready to move on with your day, slowly come up. Find yourself in your comfortable seat. Place a hand on your belly, a hand on your heart. Allow the breath to travel from the belly to the heart all the way up into the mind. Recognizing the divine intelligence within the systems of your body. Bring hands in prayer to heart. Namaste.